when you're kind of away from boxing and you really go through it in life, I think it gives you a certain level of maturity. So when I came back, it wasn't just me coming back to boxing or me coming back after having gone through whatever I've gone through. So I think it brings a level of maturity where now I'm boxing with a lot more authority.
Hi and welcome to Shadowboxr. My name is Jacqui-Lee Pryce. Today's guest is a 5 times London champion, NAGBC national champion and NAC finalist of 2024, Jay Johnson. You alright?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. So how you been?
I've been alright, yeah. Just obviously just training and work pretty much my life. So not much else, but it's going alright. How about you?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Just getting back into the swing of things.
Yeah.
So, making waves in the light heavyweight division, but I like to take it back a little bit. Take me to the journey into boxing. How did it all start?
Boy. So I kind of been in and out of martial arts my whole life. I started originally going to karate with my siblings when I was younger, but eventually I just like started doing my own thing. They kind of fell off the martial arts stuff, and then I didn't really want to be a boxer. Truthfully, I kind of thought it was a bit limiting, a bit boring. At the time, I thought, yeah, nah, boxing's a bit boring. You only use your hands. That's what I thought. So I was doing other stuff. I even did MMA for like nearly a year, and then I was on the rugby team for a bit as well. And then I moved house, and then the area I was in, there was only a boxing gym nearby. So like after school, me and my friends would go to the boxing gym and just spar each other, and then go into school the next day and then just like show the videos off to everyone. It was quite fun. And then eventually the coach asked me, do I want to compete? And I thought, you know what? At the time I was getting into like a few school fights here, and I asked him, I said, do I get into trouble for it? He said, no, you get a medal and a trophy. I'm just like, yeah, why not? Like, yeah, why not? I did it for free anyway and get in trouble. Why not do it properly? So most of my friends, obviously, they naturally just fell off. And then had my first bout, won it by second round stoppage, and I was like, oh, this is pretty fun. And then I just continued with it from there. It wasn't until my first loss where I really took it seriously, because I had a few more bouts, right, and a few more wins, and I had my first loss, but the first loss, right, I had like 2 or 3 bouts, and the guy I fought had like 15, and I just got outboxed. Like, I didn't even get hurt or anything like that, but I just got completely outboxed, and I was like, how did that just happen to me? Like, I went back to the change room thinking like, in hindsight, I never should have been matched with him in the first place. However, I was thinking to myself, like, how did he just like completely outbox me? I was like, how did he do what he did? And then that's when I really started taking it serious and started like, okay, let me actually figure out what this boxing thing really is.
You mentioned, taking it seriously after that kind of loss. That's usually a time people dip. They're like, this is not for me. So it's really great that you took that away from that competition. And what did taking it seriously look like to you?
Well, I really started trying to like train properly, because I'd usually just go to the boxing gym 3 times a week, go to school, then call it a day there. But I started really taking it serious and started like doing running, research, like proper studying the sport, because I used to just enjoy the fighting aspect. I wasn't really like thinking anything too deep of it, or thinking, like, got to search into tactics and like technical aspects and making sure I'm throwing the punches correctly. I just thought if I land a punch, great. Like, I just enjoyed the whole experience of it. But then after that, it just really rubbed me the wrong way. I'm like, it didn't sit right. I was like, someone just completely outboxed me, and I couldn't land a glove on them. Why couldn't I do that? So yeah.
I like that. I like the fact that you've kind of gone, what is it that I can do, rather than, yeah, okay, he's doing his work over there, and rather than calling it robbery, which is what people like to say, you've taken responsibility for your own learning, which I think is brilliant. Where did you actually start your journey?
I started in a gym in Cricklewood in northwest London years ago, and at the time I didn't know anything about boxing gyms. I just saw the nearest one, and the guys let us spar, so I just thought, let me just go there. But then when I really started taking it serious, and I realised that it wasn't the place for me at the time, so I moved to White Hart Lane for about a year as well, and then went to Repton, and that's where my current coach, Ricardo Williams. So I think once I made that move, that's when I really started taking it serious, and I'm like, okay, now I'm in an unfamiliar place. Now now it really begins, if that makes sense. And it was actually at White Hart Lane I won my first London title as a junior. Yeah, and at the time, I think that was really the turning point as well, because at the time I didn't know I could do it. And I was in the London final. I thought, you know what? If I was to like bottle it here, it's not the worst thing. I'm number 2 in London. I'm like 15. I can go to school, tell my friends, I'm number 2 in London, and then that's it. And then I actually won the fight, and I was a bit surprised. I was like, "Whoa, I'm London champion now! Like, what do I do?" Obviously, from there you progress into the national stages, but that was definitely a turning point where I realized that I can actually win something and like do something actually important. So,
when you talk about winning something, it sounds like it became more than just bragging rights then for you.
yeah, the thing is, I never really cared about bragging rights per such. Like, it was nice, but it was more so the personal achievement for myself. That's what really mattered, because I don't care about like what others think of me. Really, I don't care. Oh yeah, he's good. Like, people say it, but for me, it doesn't really matter, because to me, at the end of the day, I know what I can do within myself. So until I get to where I want to get to, everything obviously has to go in stages, but it's not the be all end all, you know.
Is that something though that you have learned through the process, that the bragging rights isn't the be all and end all?
I wouldn't say I learned it in the process. I never really cared about it to begin with, to be honest. Like, I always wanted to win the fight and win the tournament, but afterwards, I didn't really care so much. I know there's another one on the horizon, so I thought, you know, this was nice. It's a good experience. I'm glad I won this. Now there's something else to look forward to. So I kind of just forget about it a little bit. I take the experience of the actual contest itself, but I don't really care about I don't care about the achievements, but I just don't really dwell on it too much. I think, okay, that's good. That's in the archives now. That's past news. Now on to what I need to do next.
Yeah, move on effectively.
Yeah.
You were briefly at the Don Davison Academy, were you not?
Yeah, for about a year, yeah.
And you won, wasn't it the Haringey Box Cup there?
Yeah.
So talk me through that experience.
That, truthfully, is probably my favourite experience in like a tournament. That's the first time I boxed 3 days in a row. And it was just after the NAC final loss, so I literally had like a whole NAC run, had like 5-6 bouts like in 6 weeks. Lost at the final stage, and then I hadn't really boxed after that. Like, I had a few England assessments, and then the Haringey was on. And truthfully, I didn't know what to expect, because I never boxed in the Haringey Box Cup before. Because when I was meant to box in it as a youth, lockdown happened. So, and then when I came back, it was just like I was a senior, but I had like 12, 13 bouts. I'm not going to go into Haringey because it's only an elite tournament afterwards. Because they used to have an under 10 category and under 20 category.
I remember.
They took it away. So I thought, let me just get the experience, then go in. So I didn't know what to expect. But when I got there, obviously the venue's packed. Like, even the weigh-in line, it went from like the weigh-in scales all the way out the back of the door past Alexandra Palace, out on the outside of it. And I was like, wow, this is a lot of people. So I was thinking, like, how am I going to fight everyone here in one weekend? Like, there's like 10, 80 kilo guys. How are we going to fight in one weekend? But they split into 2 categories. So
it's possible. I've seen it happen.
Yeah. So you had like a Class A winner and a Class B winner. I can't remember what class I was actually in.
It's interesting that you say that you kind of have taken the most out of... I understand competition-wise, taking the most out of the Haringey Cup. But actually, the national championships, in terms of merit, and I don't mean this as a disrespect, it is the case, the national championships, winning one of those is kind of a higher accolade than the Haringey Box Cup. But you're saying that you benefited the most from being at the Haringey Box Cup.
I think it's because of the people that I beat rather than the actual tournament itself. Because in terms of accolades, definitely the NACs, I would have loved to win it, and that would have been the highlight of my career, like, period. But the Haringey, because I just came off the loss of the NAC final, I needed that to like really boost my morale and remind myself that, look, it wasn't a fluke. Because that whole season, that whole 2024 period, I kind of came out, in the sense, I came out of nowhere to most people. Mm-hmm. Like, I was just a guy that people knew, or I'd sparred a few decent guys, and then all of a sudden, I'm like number 2 in the country, and like people are like, who is he? Like, where did he come from?
How did that happen?
Exactly. So it was like, it could have been easily down to a fluke. And I think after that loss in the final, I was really thinking, like, was it just a fluke? But I knew deep down it wasn't, but I needed something just to prove it. So in the Haringey, I think in the quarterfinals on the first day, I boxed a boy that got to the NAC semis the year before. and good guy as well from the Midlands, and gave him a count, beat him unanimous, and I was like, okay. And then we had the semi-finals the next day, but my coach didn't tell me who the next two guys were because they were Irish internationals, but I knew they were Irish. That's all I knew about them. And then the guy I fought in the semis, there was a tough bout, that one. Yeah, because he came out, he was very, very, very strong. Only thing is, his gas tank didn't hold up that well. So after the first round, he started to decline slowly, and that's when I started to come on top quite well, and I gave him a count in the last round. But the first round, he came out and just like tried to just blitz me straight away. And I was a bit taken off guard. I was like, this kid's like trying to kind of like go full pelt in the first minute, and then afterwards he started to like come down and down and down, and that was a really tough bout. But I needed that bout as well because it was a fun one, you know. My coach is a bit angry at me though for getting a bit of a tear up in the first round. In the finals, I boxed another Irish guy, and I didn't know much about him either. And then I saw him box in the semis, and I didn't really see too much of it. I thought like he kind of got the easier side of the draw compared to me. I think he boxed someone from the army or something, but the guy, that was his first couple bouts at 80 kilos, so he wasn't really like a seasoned 80 kilo fighter. But he beat him unanimous, and then obviously I fought him in the final, and I beat him as well. And I think after winning that, I started to realise who the guys I just fought were. Cause,
I was going to say, was there a reason why he didn't tell you who the opponents were?
Yeah, definitely, because he thought I would have overthought it, and I probably would have, looking back on it, because I just got to the NAC final, and the guy I fought in the semis, he had like over 100 bouts, won a couple Haringey titles in the past as well, boxing the Europeans. Then the guy I fought in the finals, he's boxing the Europeans like 3 or 4 times, even 2024, and he's on the Irish national squad as well. So he's had like over 100 bouts. And at the time, I only had like 38, 39, something like that. So, but looking back on it now, yeah.
Sorry, but also the Irish always do bring... Every year that I've judged at the Haringey Box Cup, they always bring a brilliant team of talent. Yeah. That's the first thing. And secondly, do you think also it was about just mentally he knows that you might have got into your head and start to almost talk yourself out of winning?
Yeah, probably. Cause I was thinking, like, looking back on it, I would have probably thought, oh yeah, I just came onto the scene. I haven't had any international experience. But when I went in there and just thought of it purely as the person on the day, and thought, let me just beat the guy on the day today, it wasn't that bad. And when I beat them both, I was like, yeah, this is, you know what I mean? I did pretty well. And I think after that, I really proved to myself, okay, on the international scene, I can hang a little bit. Even though the Haringey is not the biggest international tournament, it's still a start. So if I can win this here, go out to the other tournaments, I can win them as well. So
100%. Down the line, you are going to know who you box.
Yeah.
So what can you take from that mindset of not knowing, if that makes sense, into the mindset of knowing who I'm about to box and still being able to perform?
I think still having the confidence that you came through these kind of challenges before. I think now that I've overcome certain challenges in my career, it's like who I box now isn't... I kind of realize in boxing, low-key, anyone can be beat. Anyone can be beat. It just depends on the day, depends on the time, depends on the person that shows up on the day. But anyone can be beat, and the margins are very small. So either you can be beat, or you can let yourself get beat, or you can beat the person. No one's unbeatable, especially in the amateur game where it's typical to get a loss or two or such and such. It's not the pro game. You can't pick who you want to fight. You have to just fight whoever they give you. So you could go out to a random tournament in Serbia and you could box the world number 1. Or you can go out in a random tournament in Serbia and box nobodies who aren't even ranked. So, and you can win that easily. So it really just depends. But I think just having that confidence in yourself that, look, this is the world I'm in now. I have to either rise to the top or come out and just go pro if you want to go pro. But in the amateur game, you have to fight everyone. And if you want to be the best, you have to go through all those challenges you get.
And I think when you are faced with all those different challenges, it gives you an opportunity, even if you lose, I believe, it gives you an opportunity, not only experience-wise, but when you're in the ring to kind of see certain things that may or may not work, and then you can go away and say, do you know what, this didn't work for me, but I understand now why this didn't work, but I have the opportunity now to, for example, southpaw. Most people hate, fighting one. But I think if you continue to avoid them, then it's just, you're doing yourself a disservice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who would you say was your like toughest opponent to date?
I would say there's two toughest opponents, and for different reasons. One is definitely the London Elite Final, and there was a guy named Omar Augustine who's been around for ages.
From Earlsfield.
Yeah, he's had like over 80 bouts, and I knew about him as well because I'd always seen him like growing up in the boxing scene when I was a junior, and he's always been a senior since I've been a junior, youth, and now I'm finally fighting him. I'm like, how is this guy still around?
How is he still? Yeah, he's probably a ringer.
Yeah. That's 28, 29. Obviously, he's been to the NAC finals himself. He beat former NAC finalist or NAC winner champion Aaron Bowen twice. So when Aaron Bowen actually beat him in the final, that was the first time he'd beaten him. So I knew about him already, and I knew it was going to be a tough bout. However, I knew I was better than him. It's just with him, if you stand there and try to have a trade-off with him, you're going to...
Yeah, it's impossible.
It's impossible. So my coach actually told me in the build-up to it, he said, most likely you're going to end up fighting him in the final. If you stop moving while you're fighting him, you're dead. That's what he told me.
He's awkward. He's very, very awkward, and he doesn't. The thing is, I think people think he's an easy opponent, and they get in there, and it's like he's relentless. He throws shots from very awkward angles.
Yeah.
And he's got an engine on him. You're like,
oh, his engine's second to none.
It's ridiculous.
I've never fought a guy who has that much stamina. Even from the first bell, he sprinted towards me like straight away. Like not even as soon as it went, he literally ran across the ring and he was there. So I expected it already. I just thought, you know what, I can outbox him. Just don't switch off. Otherwise, you're gonna get because. Before he stopped his last two previous opponents before he got to the final, so I knew what it was about a little bit. That fight was a good fight, I won't lie to you. Like when I won that, it really did affirm to me that okay, I'm actually an elite now. I'm not just a guy who had a couple fights and got lucky and got through. And the second hardest fight was when I fought previous NAC champion as well and now GB podium boxer Demeji. That was the hardest.
I knew you were going to say that. Is that
Yeah.
Shitu? Is that his surname?
Yeah. That's for a different
Yes.
reason though, because when I fought him and I lost the first time, I kind of talked myself out of it a little bit, knowing who he was, because I fought him in the NAGBC London semi-finals, and I'd only won like an NAGBC championship at the time. I'd never boxed in the elites, and obviously he's at the time he was the NAC champion, boxed for England, went all over the place with them. I did well the first round, and as the going got tough, I kind of gave up on myself a little bit. So going into the semi-finals of the NACs, I remember the quarterfinals, I had like a so-so performance because I fought a guy who was very negative and he didn't really want to box me. He was just running away the whole time. And I beat him, but my coach was like, that performance is not good enough. Like, we got back to the changing room and he said to me, look...
Ricardo's harsh.
Yeah, he looked at me, he told me, he said, look, we can take this bronze medal and go home tomorrow and we don't have to box and embarrass yourself tomorrow if you don't box.
Oh, shame.
Yeah, he told me that. I said to him, Ricardo, look, if this is the last thing I do, I have to box Demeji tomorrow. Like, win, lose or draw, I don't care. But the way it was last time, I didn't give an account of myself properly. So I knew I had to go out there. And regardless of the outcome, I had to just show who I am. He had people coming to support him. People thought it was going to be kind of an easy walkover for him because he already beat him before. And that was a tough fight because mentally it was difficult fighting someone like him because he's very awkward. And I don't think he's actually lost a fight since we boxed. I think he did actually, but to a European champion. But that's what I mean. You take that caliber of fighter to beat him. So when I fought him, it was very, very awkward. But I realized what my strengths were and how to like basically negate his strengths. But it was very difficult mentally staying constantly, not just switched on because that's the easy. That's kind of easy. It's a given as a boxer. You have to stay switched on. But it's more so.
Well, you say it's a given, but it's not as easy.
It's not.
It's not as easy as everyone thinks.
Yeah, fighting someone like him, it's not only just staying switched on, but it's also navigating the challenges he presents in the ring because he doesn't present your conventional challenges and he's not a conventional boxer. Winning that, I think that was probably the highlight of the NACs for me because obviously next I fought in the final and I lost. But I think beating him really affirmed, okay, like, not only am I just an elite, I can beat the top guys and I just did it there, you know. So that was definitely one of my favourite fights as well.
You lost in the final bout, obviously. Who was that against?
I was against an army lad called Kao Shaw Tullen.
You don't think that was like a harder bout than Shitu, or?
Not really. I think it was a different kind of bout Because with Kyle, he's a volume puncher, so every shot that I landed, he kind of threw 3-4.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was more of a disappointing loss because, like, no respect to Kyle, because now he's gone on to do like good things and he's on GB now. He's really doing his thing. I think that was a disappointing loss for myself because I knew in that moment I could have won, but I wasn't sure if it was the fatigue from the other bouts and like having to box week after week, because I don't think I had a week off for the whole period. And I was having like hard bouts, and then I think the weekend before I'd boxed twice in the weekend. So when I got to the final, I was just a bit drained, and I won the first one, but I came back to the corner and Ricardo was like, I could see like you're flat. He said even if you're flat, just obviously do what you have to do. It's the final, and I went out there. I gave a okay account of myself, but I wasn't happy with my performance afterwards. And when I did lose, I wasn't really surprised. There wasn't like a robbery. People came up to me and thought it was a robbery. I said to them, no, like I didn't box well, like period. I was just disappointed with myself, and I got a bit disheartened because I got to the final hurdle and I just couldn't overcome it. Like physically, my body just wasn't doing what I wanted it to do, and all we can do is go back in next year and win it.
Yeah. 100%. So I'm just thinking of the saying, Ricardo's saying, of we can just take bronze and not embarrass ourselves tomorrow. I mean, listen, one of the things, some people might think that's harsh, and I'm only joking. Sometimes you need to know just what to say to your fighter in order to get them to do what they're capable of, and what you know they can do. And we're talking about Ricardo Williams. Is that something that he kind of figured out quite early with you, how to kind of poke you and prod you and guide you in the right way?
I think after about a year or so of working together, because we started working together before lockdown, and then during lockdown we would have like sessions in the park, and somewhere around that time I think he kind of figured it out. I think especially before one of the bouts I had for him, or the last bout before lockdown, I can't remember what was said, but that bout I gave quite a good performance, and he was happy with it, which is when Ricardo's happy with your performance, that means you know you've done well. And I think he must have realised it from then, kind of how to flip the switch. And I think especially because of the Demeji fight, it was personal to me, not because of the person I was fighting, but because of the way I lost before and the way I wanted to win this time. It wasn't as simple as just getting out box and just like going about it. I really did believe I could beat him, but I just gave a really bad account of myself. I couldn't just go home with a bronze. Like on paper, NAC semi-finalist isn't that bad, but knowing that I'm fighting, I know I can beat him.
You want gold.
I want gold, exactly. But especially this fight in particular, this was like, there's no turning back. There's no going home. Like, doesn't matter. I have to fight him tomorrow.
I think Ricardo's style comes from the fact that we all are from Fitzroy Lodge. And we've all got a similar style that you kind of tell it as it is. And that our coach, Mick Carney, was like that. There was no BS. Some people thought he was harsh, but it was kind of tough love. But at least you knew that if he did something good, it truly was good. He wasn't one of these people that would blow smoke up your backside. You know what I'm saying? So I think we've all got a similar style of coaching, and we were very, very lucky to have kind of learnt, from him. So yeah, it does make me laugh that sometimes you just got to be blunt. Do you know what I mean? So you were kind of on a roll. Everything's going well. You're the new kid on the block, and like you said earlier, this person that everyone was like, who the hell is this guy? Do you know what I mean? And then you get injured. Talk me through that situation.
Well, I got injured because my last couple of bouts were in the NAGBC London Championships, and truthfully, if I'd not gotten injured in those two bouts, I would have gone on to win the whole thing. But I boxed the semi-final. I boxed a Repton guy, and I beat him unanimous. Then I boxed another Repton guy in the final as well, both Repton kids. And in the final, I boxed a southpaw called Freddie Wilkins, and I went in there with the wrong tactics because who he was. He just come up. He came off a big injury. He came off an ACL tear, so now he's up at 80 kilos. But his last bout was as a youth at 71. So going in there, I was thinking I really had to put it on him, but I didn't come in with the right tactics. And I think if I just boxed him a bit better, it would have been a lot easier. There was a lot of like clashing of heads throughout the bout, and I think Brian John even warned us, the ref. He said, like, be careful because you guys might get injured from this. And in the last round, I think we both threw jabs, and obviously him being a southpaw, it was like lead hand, and we both slipped each other's jabs, but because of that, we ended up clashing heads and just going straight into each other. And I kind of felt my head leaking, but I thought, you know what? It's the last round. Brian John was on the other side. He couldn't see. I thought, let me just cover it with my right hand and just carry on. And the decision came, one unanimous. Then you have to go and see the doctor afterwards. And then I saw, and before I even got there, she gasped. And I was like, oh, it's bad, isn't it? And she's like, yeah. So it's since healed, and I've been back sparring now like about 3-4 weeks. But it was a bit of a setback because that week after as well, I was meant to have my England debut. I was meant to obviously carry on into the NAGBC championships, and things were looking up, and then it kind of just halted everything. First 10 days of my injury, they said you can't train at all. So I was just sitting at home, and I think I took a few days off work as well. Like I took 3-4 days off work, so I was sitting at home. I just had nothing to do. I was saying I can't go train, I can't do anything. All I have is just my PlayStation 5 and just my thoughts. So
what happens when you're left with your thoughts, though? That's the thing.
I don't know. It was quite rough for a little bit, but I think when I was able to train again, I started slowly kind of getting back into it. Started to really look positive, and I think I got the text from Amanda Coulson, the England boxing coach, saying that there's a camp at the start of January. So I thought, okay, I have something to look forward to now. Yeah. Like instead of just being here, just kind of just aimlessly training, there's a goal, there's a target. So I was like, let me just train towards the 4th, and the weight started to come back down again, and yeah, I think I'm back in a better place now. In fact, I'm even better now than I was before. You
having that little bit of a break, and I say this all the time, sometimes we kind of beat ourselves up, but sometimes we just need a break.
Yeah.
And then the fact that you've had this break, obviously your injury is healed, but I'm guessing that then you get the call up for England, and everything is kind of like you're kind of rested and ready to go in an effect. I
think that, and especially because of the Christmas period, there's some personal things going on in life, and I feel like when you're kind of away from boxing and you really go through it in life, I think it gives you a certain level of maturity. So when I came back, it wasn't just me coming back to boxing or me coming back after having gone through whatever I've gone through. So I think it brings a level of maturity where now I'm boxing with a lot more authority, and I'm boxing like truly like a senior now. Like obviously I've been a senior for a couple of years, but I think as you get older and more mature and you go through certain things in life, it really does help your boxing as well in a weird way. And I think it's more mental, like because you've gone through whatever you've gone through, compared to the ring. Not saying it's not as bad, but it's just like you have like a certain level of resolve that you can only really get from life experience.
100%.
So I think now that I'm back, I'm a lot better in that regard, where I don't really care who I fight anymore, because it's just like I have to go out there and beat the person no matter what. Doesn't matter who they are and what they've achieved. And I know it's a bit off topic, but I've been sparring with James DeGale recently.
Have you really?
He's been back in training for a while. He's been keeping it quiet, but I've had a couple spars with him, and
quality.
I've been talking with him as well, and it's like even with him, like the things and advice he gives me, it really like gives me that confidence as well. Like like I really am as good as I think I am.
I tell you what. Listen, with that's another top. He's a good fighter, you know.
Good, yeah.
He was, and the thing is, like watching him in the amateurs at club level, and then I remember him walking into Fitzroy Lodge when I can't remember what year that was, but with the GB team, and they came to spar, and he's obviously friends with Bradley Skeet, so I kind of knew him on that level, and just seeing him just seeing him kind of grow, and then obviously going to the Olympics and getting the gold medal, and what an absolutely brilliant fighter, and a solid person for you to kind of be absorbing information from. I'm wondering, does that mean he's coming back?
I don't.
For one of them super fights.
I asked him, and he said his World Championship days are behind him, but exhibition fights probably he'll be doing. But he said he feels better than he did in his last couple of fights, because he said his injuries are gone now. Because I think he tore his Achilles, and obviously the lifestyle he was living wasn't the greatest in his last couple of fights. But since then he's been clean for the last 5-6 years. His injuries have all healed, so he's back. He feels better. Obviously the age said he can't compete at world level anymore, but he still enjoys the training aspect, and even sparring with him, like he brings like a wealth of experience and knowledge, and doing well against someone like him, he always tells me like take credit from it, because You know what I mean? Like, I'm not just anyone. And obviously, yeah, like...
I'm not just anyone.
Yeah.
I'm chunky.
And he's done it all. So it's like...
It's true. Listen, it's true, though.
Yeah. And that's even what I said to him. I said, look, like... He said, don't beat yourself up too much, because I did well against him in sparring, but obviously, for me, I'm hypercritical of myself, so... I told him, I said, look, I want to do what you did. Like, I want to do everything like that. He was on GB, won Olympic gold, 2-time world champion. I think it was the first Brit to ever do it as well, 2-time world champion. So he really did do it all. So regardless of what happened towards the end of his career, he's set a lot of records in Britain, you know.
It's not... The thing is, you know, he was an amateur for a long time, and you can't shortcut this.
Yeah.
You know, I think... It's good to have goals and it's good to look up to people, but you've also got to realise the amount of time and effort that went into achieving, you know, the Olympic gold, for instance. So, and they did not have the same sort of advantages, I believe. I'm talking about in terms of, because obviously everything's changed, but they didn't have that same advantage of, you know, the knowledge that they now have at GB. They didn't have that back in the day. As you know, it wasn't as how can I? Because I don't want to offend anybody.
Developed.
Yes, it wasn't as developed. Do you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I mean, it's one of them people that you think, I'd like to see him back in the ring. Then you think, I want to remember the good days. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think a couple of exhibitions for him, he'll be good. So obviously, because of his name, he can probably get like a decent amount. So
you talk about sparring other people that you've sparred. I heard you sparred Craig Richards.
Yeah, a couple of years back actually. I haven't sparred him in a while.
Fowler, did you?
Anthony Fowler
did you
as
really?
well. Yeah, before obviously he retired and created his business. So yeah.
Ben Whittaker.
Ben Whittaker, yeah. I think Ben Whittaker was the majority of my spars for 2023, so that's 2024 before the NACs. And I think that really helped me get my confidence up towards it as well, because getting better against him, sparring him each time. It's like, I can really hang in there with an Olympian, you know. And obviously, he's on form. He's sharp, and obviously he's going towards his prime era. He's going towards his prime years. So I thought, like sparring him, and obviously he won the NACs twice back in the day, back to back against good people as well. So before that, I'd never really been in there with anyone, like in terms of the amateur level, anyone really high level, because you only get that sparring in Sheffield really, and those guys, they don't really come to spar just anyone. So other than your pros, and pros obviously is a different style, I've never been in the ring with someone before that had got to that top level in the amateurs. So just the sharpness alone was quite of a shock at the start, but then as time went on, I must have done like probably nearly like 70, 80, maybe 100 rounds of him, like over the course of like the year, and then half of 2024 before the Haringey World Cup, I did so many rounds of him.
It lifts your game, doesn't it? Even if you're, I'm using this word novice in comparison to them.
Yeah.
It kind of brings up your level. They always say if you spar someone that's better than you, they're going to bring up your level. Did you see that development?
I think I saw it definitely nearly straight away, because I know after the first time I sparred him, I really went back to the gym, and that little period of time before you spar him next, I was really just upping my game, because I think I got to do better than last time. And not only just do better than last time, I just got to like show him that I can bring something as well. So I keep getting these opportunities to spar him. So every time I went back to the gym, I'd just train harder and harder and harder, and I would see the way that he was training as well. When it came to sparring him again, I'd do better and better and better. And then,
I like that. Yeah, you kind of, it gives you that kind of impetus to do better.
Yeah.
And you kind of need to be able to match them. Do you know what I'm saying? So you have SOG on your shorts, Son of God. How important has faith been in shaping you as both a boxer and a man?
Very important. I think for me, it's the most important thing, because not only has faith given me something to aspire to be towards, but also having that faith in God has really helped me in other aspects of my life as well. And it kind of just filters into boxing naturally. So I never really thought about it like, I have faith just for the pure aspect of boxing. So I know a lot of people, they say, I give thanks to God. And they usually just say it in the moment because they're just like really excited or really happy they won something. But say you lose a fight, and you can still have that same faith. I think that's important as well. Like, there's more to life than just boxing. I think I've realised that for myself now as well. But it just carries over into boxing, like naturally. Like when you have that faith that you bring outside, like in God, you can also bring it in the ring as well. So I think it's very important. Yeah.
I spoke to Ellis Trowbridge recently, and we spoke about a similar aspect of, finding through adversity, finding God, and not just being somebody that, like you just said, that for the performance aspect is calling on God and asking God to do, but really, really sort of developing a relationship with God.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, over the last few years, I'm meeting more and more people that are developing this relationship.
I'm seeing a big change as well, like shift, even like outside in the world, like away from boxing, a lot more people are starting to become of the faith, and it's quite interesting. It's quite interesting to say the least. But that's a whole like other kind of worms, I reckon. Like we could really do a deep dive into that, but yeah, it's been interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Your dad's an actor, Will.
Yeah.
Weirdly, we were kind of following each other for ages on social media, and I didn't know that you were his son and all of that. So it was really weird, like how it all came about. But isn't it? You got two sisters in the family business of acting.
Two younger sisters, yeah, and then three older sisters, and then one brother.
One of your sisters is a cellist, is that right?
She's like a jazz player, so she does like cello, piano, all that stuff, singing as well. But she's always like traveling around the world doing that. Yeah, so I think she was in Germany the other week. She's going to America soon as well. She's doing her thing. Yeah. So
didn't you fancy following them into the family business?
No, I always thought it was boring, truthfully. Like for me, like they tried to put me in a few drama classes when I was younger, but I thought like, why am I I'm faking, I'm pretending basically. Like I can do this at home. Like I'm not gonna do it on camera or on stage or something like that. I just thought it was boring. And for me, I was always heavy into action movies when I was younger, and I thought just faking it wasn't as fun. So that's kind of why I started martial arts. I'm like, if I'm gonna do all these action stuff, I want to do it real. I don't want to like fake it and just yeah.
That faking it put you through school, son.
It's true. It's true. No, it's definitely true, but I don't know. For me, it's funny because like I'm not bad at performing. Like I did drama for GCSE and I got I got an A. But I just thought I couldn't do this as a living.
It's just not for you.
It's not for me.
Yeah, fair enough.